You know, my father always said, one door closes and another one opens. He was a really wise man, but a terrible cabinet maker. Welcome back to Security This Week. I'm Carl Franklin. Dwayne LaFlotte is here. Patrick Hines is here. We're at PWOP Studios with our friend Brock Allen. Hi, Brock.
Hi, how's it going?
Fantastic.
Woohoo. Thank you.
Yep,
welcome to the show.
As promised, we are getting together. Everybody but Dwayne. Dwayne is still in New Hampshire.
Lame.
I know. I'm in
you're
an
in New
undisclosed
He's the
location,
designated
hacking
survivor.
into certain things.
Living next door to the felon, right?
The Russian agent. Thank you very
felon.
much.
I believe you mean international spies.
That zhuzh it up a little bit.
Right. Well, we have quite a few stories today, so let's start with Mint Mobile. What is Mint Mobile anyway? And first of all, what's the headline?
Mint Mobile discloses new data breach exposing customer data.
I've never even heard of Mint Mobile. So you got AT&T, T-Mobile, and
Oh my God.
And Ryan Reynolds.
Mint Mobile?
Ryan Reynolds.
Yeah, and if you haven't, you don't rabidly follow Ryan
Who's Ryan Reynolds?
around. All right, I'm going to quit this show.
Deadpool?
I'm out.
He's the Deadpool guy, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
Sorry.
So Mint Mobile is Ryan Reynolds is a spokesperson slash I think most owner. Yeah, exactly.
Right.
Of Mint Mobile.
What is it?
It's a phone company.
According
T-Mobile.
to this article. They do cell phone packages. Right. Actually, and in other news, T-Mobile has proposed a $1.3 billion offer to purchase Mint Mobile. So,
not now.
Good for them.
Maybe not.
So this data breach is weird because the breach, according to cybersecurity experts, data that was leaked was name, telephone number, email address, SIM serial number with IMEI number.
Oh, that's bad.
Yeah, and a brief description of your service plan. But everything else was encrypted. They don't ever store social security number. They don't ever store credit cards. They don't ever store like super sensitive information, which is good.
But they have enough to spam the hell out of you.
It's impressive.
Yeah,
and the other thing they have is when you have someone's IMEI, you generally can then con a phone company into SIM swapping attacks. And this is where I think we talked about this last week. What would you do if you were able to swap someone's SIM and all that means is let's say I swap Carl's SIM. I call up his cell phone provider. I have the IMEI serial number and a little bit of information. And I say I dropped my phone in the toilet and I need to move my number over to a new phone.
And they effectively transfer all of the data that was on my phone to your phone, which might include my Bitwarden stuff. And I still would need the Bitwarden master password to use that. But if you weren't using a password manager, certainly all of your...
I don't think it does that. I think it's more of I could do two-factor authentication that's based on text and phone number. Whereas...
Yeah, try and say you forgot your password to Bank of America.
Yeah, I don't think any of that data. We should find out for sure, but I don't think any of that data is something the phone company has control of.
Well, I gotta retract that. I mean, Bitwarden is and password managers work in the cloud, right? And you have to log into them every single time. And my phone is smart enough, or Bitwarden on my phone is smart enough to ask for the password if I haven't used it in like 5 minutes.
But what that opens us up to is the fact that not all two-factor authentication is created equal. So because of SIM swapping, because of SIM stealing, text message and, voice phone call are both not the best second factor. They're better than no second factor by sure. Email, I don't also think is a little bit, it's convenient. And you know what we say about convenience.
Yeah, of course.
But I think the apps, the authentication apps are far better because they don't come over unless someone gets a hold of your cloud backup.
Yeah. So I built tons of systems with customers on this, and there are like several topics going around here. But one of them is you have a password. That's your primary thing. Then you have some sort of secondary thing. So Dwayne mentioned something about, if you forget your password, just text you a code. I think that violates the separation between those two right away. You shouldn't allow one to retrieve the other because then you
only have one.
Yeah, you only have one.
Right.
So that is a big fail. And then, yes, you should be moving away from SMS-based multi-factor to some sort of key or something, a different approach than that, because of the SIM swapping is the major concern.
The authenticator apps are the best, I think.
A lot of the banks, because of their older customers, are letting you, they're going to call you.
Yeah.
And you're going to press some numbers, which is all equally, but the authenticator apps, as Carl just said, is the best.
Well, I will say my mother-in-law actually has 1Password. I got her into using that.
What is her 1Password?
Yeah. I think she actually printed it out and gave it to me just in case.
Yeah, there you go. That's a mother-in-law move.
So do we all agree that authenticator apps are probably the best way to go other than passkeys, which are still in development?
Sure. Yeah.
I think so.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
But
agreed.
How do you log into your authenticator app? I mean, I've never had to log in to my authenticator app once I put it on my phone.
But it's on your phone.
No, generally you don't. Although it's every 2 weeks, mine does force me to log back in.
Really?
Right.
I use 1Password as well, and every 2 weeks it forces me to type in the arduous 64-character password.
Well, but that's for that. We're talking about for like the Google Authenticator and the Microsoft Authenticator and Duo.
You can also set those up to force off you over a period of time. Say, hey, once a month at least, ask my username and password. That sort of stuff.
Yeah, coming from the world of OAuth, where they have a whole RFC on the best current practice for this, right? What they basically say is that these apps, through enough education, we're working on it. We're working on it.
A whole bunch of listeners just tuned out.
Yeah.
Sorry, when Brock's here, we're going to go deep into development.
I can't wait. I'm looking forward to it.
But the idea, though, is that these native apps, they pop open the system browser and get you logged in that way.
Yeah.
So you're bootstrapping the mobile app login through your normal. Now, of course, yes, you have an excellent point. If your authenticator is your second factor, right? So that there's a bootstrapping there. But once you do that, then the mobile device should have tokens that represent its access to your stuff over time.
And the mobile device should have biometrics.
And then they should protect those
and
with
pins
exactly
and
with the
things
biometrics.
like
So when you unlock your device every week or day or whatever it is, it's unlocking the long-term token that's stored on that device.
Yeah.
And then in theory, that token is revocable if you lose your device.
So it's like passkeys on training wheels.
Kind of, yeah.
Yeah.
And then if you transfer your phone, that's another big thing. Here's in terms of like developers and advice, right? When somebody uninstalls the device, you should revoke those tokens.
Yes.
Or uninstalls the app off the device, you should revoke those tokens. And then the other thing is you should be storing them locally, not in cloud backup. Yeah. So if you do move phone to phone, that shouldn't travel with you. If you've set up a new phone and you can magically log in, they're not following the guidelines.
So what I do, and I'm I guess I'm a purist, is I don't back up my old phone and restore it to the new one, so that I don't accrue any crud from the past, which is a pain, but it does make you go through that process.
But if you've done you have your single sign on, once you bootstrap your 1Password or whatever you have,
right? Yeah,
then it's pretty easy to get into all those apps.
And we recommend that you reboot your phone at least once a week.
Yeah.
To get the crud out of the memory and make sure, we're trying to, whatever hints we can give the listeners so that they can live a better life.
Actually, I hadn't thought about that one. So yeah okay.
Clearly he doesn't listen to the show.
No.
Well, I know what would frustrate Dwayne. If Dwayne's on a Target phone and he's holding on by his fingernails, he doesn't want them to reboot it over the weekend.
Interesting. Well, let me do that right
dear
now.
God, no.
Yeah.
Wait, actually, can you wait till Monday?
Yeah, I was going to say, once a week you got to reboot that phone.
Oh, I'm going to do this while Dwayne's distracted.
Yeah, just give me
I'm doing this while you're
Brock.
distracted. So,
so interestingly enough, the recommendations here are to do nothing.
Nothing about it.
Just there's not much you can do to prevent a SIM swapping attack.
Isn't that
I like that.
Isn't that the same as isn't that same strategy to escape a super volcano? Do nothing.
I think so. Just do nothing. You're either going to get hit and vaporized or not, but there's not much you can do either way. So and just as an update, T-Mobile does actually wait a second. More correction, Mobile. I think T-Mobile does actually own Mint. Like in March, it said that they were going to acquire them. So who knows? Either way, if you're using Mint Mobile, there's really not much you need to do. Mint has put out a custom
Okay.
Support line you can call if you have questions.
It's safe to say that most human beings would be horrified if they knew how much information was available on them in the dark web.
That's right.
And you have to go and move into a cave and convert all your money to seashells in order to really escape it. And so in many cases, the answer is you should monitor your credit. You should monitor, all the things you should do.
Yep.
And if you really want to be paranoid, you can do things like, double check that your deeds are safe and that your mail isn't being forwarded.
Rent a room at Patrick's house.
You can.
But then he'll have your information.
Yeah, but
in the panic
I
room.
would trust him with my information more than I would trust Dwayne.
Nobody should trust Dwayne.
It works, Dwayne. It's working.
All right. Next story. New Xamalicious Android malware installed 330,000 times on Google Play. First of all, what is Xamalicious? And it's Xamal-icious. What is that?
Xamalicious. It sounds like either a new version of Android operating system, right? They have like Lollipop and ice cream.
I thought it was a new markup language from Microsoft.
Xamalicious.
That's what that sounds like.
Xamalicious.
So Xamalicious it's an Android backdoor. So it's just the name of a piece of malicious software, hence Xamalicious. That allows for remote control and command of your phone, your Android phone, which sounds fantastic.
Would this happen to an iPhone?
Yeah. So can it happen? Yes. Actually, we're going to talk about a really sophisticated hack a couple stories from now called iPhone triangulation that's primed for something like this. However, this I don't think the Apple Play Store would ever allow something this broad. I mean, 300,000 downloads over 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So it's like 7 apps that had this backdoor in it.
The name comes from the fact that it's using Xamarin.
Oh, neat. Okay.
In terms of the stores, right? Yep. Isn't the difference the curation?
Yes. Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, and it's twofold. I think it's the curation, and I think it's, Apple tries to keep a lot of things secure by obscurity. So it's harder to understand the underpinnings, whereas Android's kind of fully open, right? So it's really easy to write a malicious toolkit that can avoid a lot of the normal security checks.
But when apps are submitted to the Apple Store, there's my sense, and you tell me you'd know better, but they're far more scrutinized than things to the Android Store, and that's how this kind of thing can happen.
100%.
Yeah.
Although Microsoft, not Microsoft. Apple's not perfect. They've had some problems,
of course,
but we do tend to hear about it a lot more about Android,
right? And in a sense, you pay for it, right? Because the Apple devices are way more expensive.
Yes.
Yep.
And that's what you're paying for.
I was actually sad when I finally realized that the more secure device was the Apple device. Back in the day, but it is. Yeah,
I know.
I remember that day. It was a Tuesday.
How unlibertarian of you, Patrick.
Hey, I go where the facts be.
My brother is a staunch libertarian, and just like he can't stand the idea of supporting Apple by buying their products, but would spend $1,300 on a new Google Play phone.
Is that why he's a Java? Is that why he's a Java developer?
Hey, that was a long time ago, my friend.
Oh, okay.
For those who don't know what we're talking about, Jay actually took a class in Angular from Brock.
Oh,
years
probably
ago.
About 15 years ago, maybe?
Yeah, probably.
Wow.
Yeah. Back when Brock actually did front ends. Now he's like Mr.
Phrasing.
Security.
Phrasing.
Hey.
Yeah. Funny. Hey, Jay, if you're listening, my drummer listens to this show, Tom. Tom DeFaria, shout out to you, man.
Wow, nice.
But,
hey, Tom.
But he's in IT,
Tom.
but Jay does not, I'm sure. All right, so what do we do about this?
Google Play Store has pulled all these apps that have this backdoor. Doesn't mean there aren't other ones, but there are 12 malicious apps that have been pulled. But the most popular ones were the Essential Horoscopes for Android, 3D Skin Editor for Minecraft. That's 100,000 downloads right there. A Logo Maker, 100,000 downloads. The Auto Click Repeater.
That's what
Carl
uses for his
10,000
webcams.
downloads.
Yeah, auto-click repeater.
Exactly, the auto-click
and it's really
repeater.
pissed me off sometimes.
The Count Easy calorie calculator.
Oh, boy.
Easy for me to
First
say.
of all, why is anybody making logos on their Android phone?
I can't. I don't. And why did 100,000 people download it?
There are actually people that edit videos on their phones now, right?
There's people who
Carl, are you the
I
get
just
off my
don't-
lawn guy now?
Why
would
when I
kids
edit a
do this?
video, I need the whole 49-inch screen. You know?
Okay.
How do you
Okay,
do
Grandpa.
that with your fingers?
Hey, yeah. Hey, Carl, when the primary thing you're editing is a TikTok,
I suppose you're
that's
right.
like 10
Yeah, I suppose
pixels
you're
by
right.
40 pixels. Yeah, you don't need a 49.
Yeah, it just hit me how old I am when I saw some young people just sitting and doing something on their phone. I'm like, oh, what are you playing, a game? No, I'm editing a video. What the?
Yeah, get off my lawn.
Serious? I'm like, how old? Editing a video?
Exactly.
Wow, amazing. Okay, welcome to Four Old Guys Try to Talk.
and failing badly.
I know, right?
All right, so we're moving on to the next one, which is really just a Twitter post
And a
isn't
mood
it?
killer at that.
An X post, Falcon Feeds IO.
Wait, is this going to be the Qatar one from Falcon Feeds?
Yeah.
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 Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Oof.
Do we even want to talk about it?
I don't know. Yeah, this will be brief. So Qatar Airlines.
Yeah, it's Qatar.
Qatar, I think that's how you say that. Qatar. Yeah, it's Qatar, not Qatar. Qatar Airways suffered a breach earlier this year, and that the hackers just have the hits keep on coming. They have a lot of data still to go through. 400 gig ish worth of data to go through. And apparently they just found how to access the Boeing 787 Toolbox remote data package. And according to the hackers, this gives them access to critical software, maintenance logs, and even flight control.
That's bad.
Crazy.
If true.
Yeah. If true, right? So this was just announced December 28th. That was yesterday. From this recording. So we'll see what kind of response comes back from that. But
Excuse me while I change a flight.
Yeah, no kidding. I mean, I knew it was bad, but that's bad.
It's honestly, you put your trust in these systems, trains, planes, automobiles, you name it, right? And I think we had talked on this show how my team had gone down to the DC area.
Can we talk about that?
Did we talk about this?
Can we talk about that is what I'm asking.
Just leave out the names.
So we went down there. We went down there to crash a train.
The last
we
time
did
you
talk
talked
about
about it, Patrick got all up in your face.
Well, because I still we
He
didn't
did.
get arrested.
Yeah, I didn't mention
so-
any names or so we're good. But it's surprisingly simple once you know how all these protocols work to be like, oh, just issue this signal, and sure enough, the auto brakes go on, etc.
This was so let's just be clear. This was us working with the government to help them find potential vulnerabilities.
Yeah, sure.
But we found potential vulnerabilities.
Yeah. I know. Dwayne's not really evil. He just plays an evil
No, come on.
hacker.
We've directed his evil tendencies in the right direction.
Yeah, he's harnessed them for the powers
He's
of
like
good.
Godzilla.
Right.
Wow, though. I mean, wow. What are you doing? I'm going to crash a train.
Go Godzilla.
So really, that would be my concern in seeing something like this, is not necessarily do they have direct command and control over an airplane in the air, because chances are no, because they'd have to be in some internal systems or whatever. But understanding how those protocols work, and how they communicate back and forth, that's a lot more dangerous, because that's when you're able to create packages you just plug in somewhere or have broadcast and cause issues.
Yeah, I imagine the guy gets on the plane and just plugs into the entertainment system, and the thing can now start sending signals to the cockpit.
Yeah.
Right.
And
they-
would be the first time.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, no, and you think about an airplane, right? 30, 40, 50 years ago, right? It's the same protocols, right? Probably.
Yeah.
So it's just that there's so much more connectivity, and people have to have their in-flight entertainment, that they're giving more access to everyone in their seat.
Because they haven't changed the core. They just bolted a bunch of junk on.
Yeah.
Here's a tip, folks. when you get on a flight and you want to charge your phone by plugging it into the USB, don't do that. Bring your own freaking charger. It's not that difficult. Just bring your own charger.
Yeah, make sure the Logo Maker Pro is not installed at the same time, right?
Yeah, USB is for more than just charging.
Right?
Yeah. All right, let's. Should we take a break? I think we should.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's do it. We're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back after these very important messages. And we're back. You're listening to Security This Week. I'm Carl Franklin. That's Dwayne LaFlotte and Patrick Hines. And our special guest today is Brock Allen, who's a security expert with Duende Software. And so, yeah, he's got he's going a little bit more developer on us today than you probably have a stomach for. But
that's awesome.
We'll try to explain things as we go along. And I might say, there is a beautiful prime rib roast resting and coming up to temperature as we speak. Sorry, Dwayne. Yeah. All right. Ohio lottery hit by cyber attack claimed by Dragon Force ransomware. Patrick, I thought ransomware was legal to pay ransoms in your world.
I think it should be illegal. I think it should be made illegal to pay ransomware. I think the insurance company should not pay them because all it does is it feeds into that industry and causes more ransomware.
Do you know what percentage of people pay ransomware?
I don't, but I assume it's high double digits.
I think it's 110.
Yeah.
No, I would,
because they pay and then they get infected again. And they
I would be shocked
apparently.
if it's not close to like 40%, 50%. I don't know. I don't have the statistic.
Yeah, I think it's higher than that.
It should be zero.
I think it's higher than that.
I think, honestly, I don't think you should be allowed to. I think it should be illegal because what it does is it allows people to have an option, and all it does is feed in. If you pay $1 million ransom, you can expect that 500,000 of that is going to go towards
the next one.
Yeah, finding the next 10. It's like, oh, I'm going to get rid of the ants by spreading ants.
Well, there's the other side to that, which is if people don't pay, then the ransoms will just get more severe. In other words, the things that they will do to get your money will be increased.
Well, I mean,
until you do pay.
We saw the escalation of them releasing your data. So I'm merciless in this regard. If your data, if your data is going to embarrass you when you get released, I don't care. And then you shouldn't have data that's going to embarrass you.
But we've also seen the next step above that. And Brock, I don't know if you've heard of this when we had talked about the story a couple weeks ago. Hackers broke into an organization. They stole data and said, hey, give us money. And the company said, no, we're not going to do it. We're going to take Patrick's stance. You go away. And they said, okay. And then they filed with the FCC saying, hey, this public company lost data. We know because we stole it. And they were supposed to announce it to the public, and they didn't. So
it's like blackmailing on top of the yeah.
So let's take a look at it right now. The way it is right now, when we talk to organizations, they say, "Well, we're probably not going to get hit, and if we do get hit, we'll have insurance, or we'll just pay the ransom." What they should do is they should back their stuff up, and they should make sure they don't have anything. And if they do get breached, they should report it.
Yeah.
So
done. Done deal.
Yeah. But I think until we outlaw it, it's going to keep happening. It's going to keep getting worse.
But you got to imagine it comes all down to finances, right? So let's say you're an organization and you're going to announce a breach and it's going to drop your stock price and you're going to lose $100 million. So is $10 million to ransomware?
Well, but there's still a crime there now because you're legally obligated to announce. So that is still illegal.
I'm just saying Uber wouldn't do it. So
we'll see. I guess I'm in the minority because nobody's advocating for this, but I think it would solve the problem, right away. Would there not be another problem? Of course there'd be another problem, but ransomware has become, you saw on X, there was 50 companies in a week.
Oh yeah.
I like to introduce things.
I was going to get to that. Yeah. But wait, before we get to that, I want to poll.
Okay.
Patrick, you would not pay.
I would not pay.
Brock.
Yeah. I mean, if it were my company, yeah. Well, I know how to back up my data and restore my servers. So
yeah. Same here.
Oh, see, I like that answer. Yeah. He's like, hey, listen, protect your stuff and you won't have to pay.
I mean, the first job I asked you to do when I first hired you, Dwayne, was what? Organize our backups.
Yeah. 24 years ago. The first thing I did was manage backups for Patrick.
And did you finish the job or not?
Yep.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Yeah.
And then I bet
Still
Patrick
working on
asked
it.
you to restore them, to test them.
I did. Of course he
Yeah.
did.
He did. Once a week, I had to restore our server to
And
a-
it's how
to an
I
online
torture
server and
every
make
new
sure-
hire ever since.
Yeah. That's smart.
Mhm.
Because the last thing you want to hear
Yeah,
when
good
you
move.
get ransomware is, oh,
I had a
backup.
formative experience when I was working for Cigna shortly after getting out of the military. One of their offices had an office building they were in that burned, and they lost everything. And they went to go and restore the backup on their new server, and it didn't work. And they went back to the one before that. They had to go back 6 months before they found a backup that actually worked.
Wow.
And that person lost their job, and the company lost millions because of that. Because that one office.
Jeez.
Is that cheaper than paying the ransomware?
There was no ransom.
Oh, okay.
So that's the other thing is
right?
backups are the gift that keep on giving. They work when the hardware fails. They work when there's a flood or a fire, and they work with the ransomware.
Have you guys used offline backups like cloud backup solutions? I know there's a lot of them, and I don't want to even give
We
them
do our
their
own.
names out.
We do our own homegrown, like rotating offline systems.
Yeah.
Okay. So do you use a cloud service for that? Or
No.
do you use a backup? You don't use a backup service, but do you use any Azure or AWS?
No.
Or? No.
Yeah, my personal stuff, I have robocopy scripts that just
Yeah.
back shit up into my,
Yep.
onto hard drives that I
Yeah.
have connected.
Yep. Different places.
I mean, if I had more time, I'd do the whole chaos monkey thing and have systems shut down randomly and make them. We're about to go to a hot spare automatic, a separate system. So we'll have all of our data in two places written in real time, so we can swap over within a few minutes.
Wow, that's cool.
For our company size, that's actually pretty extensive.
All right. So here's a question. What if you have like a small business, home office or whatever, and you got a Wi-Fi and you got a guest Wi-Fi and you can add more guest Wi-Fis? Would you have your backup server, like, I know you'd have it behind the firewall and stuff, but would you have it on a completely separate network, subnet, Dwayne?
I would.
Yeah.
I would absolutely 100%.
Because that's usually how ransomware works, right? It just spreads out and tries to find all the
Well, and the
local
cost
servers.
of segmenting the network is so low now.
Yeah.
It is. Yeah. And honestly, the first thing a piece of ransomware is going to do is try and propagate.
Yeah.
Right. So it's going to reach out to all SMB shares. So if you have a backup sitting on on a regular Windows share, consider it gone. Right. Even if, you wrote the backup up and it works fine, but whatever, it doesn't matter. It's going to get encrypted. Anything that's accessible. You can't assume like, oh, listen, well, my backup account is the only thing that has access to this data on the share. Right.
Yeah. Backup accounts have a lot of power, don't they?
They're
do.
awesome from a hacking standpoint.
See, Brock,
you can
I knew he was going to say it was
with a
awesome.
backup
Something. We knew the word awesome would come up sometime today. We're telling Brock when we're having appetizers.
Yes.
Dwayne, everything is awesome.
Oh my God. If you can request backup rights, listen, hacker kiddies, if you can request backup rights, you can touch files whether you have privileges to them or not. And what's really great is auditing software usually will disregard anything
clever.
the backup software touches. So now you have unfettered access to files with nobody being able to track you or hunt you.
That is awesome.
It's criminal career advice.
Oh my gosh. Yes. But yeah, no, I would absolutely keep it on a different segmented network. There's no reason not to these days.
Okay. So I guess this is just a cautionary tale here about the Ohio lottery.
it
Was
is.
there any details that we sort of missed? We didn't really talk about this story,
it's just
did we?
one in a storm.
No, I mean, honestly, this is a classic smash and grab ransomware. And what this got me to thinking was, hey, this just happened. How many ransomware attacks happen in a week? Right. We see a few, we talk about a few, maybe once a episode, we talk about one major one. So I did a little digging, into actually falconfeeds.io, on X. And, I think we had mentioned the number, Patrick, but that 55 ransomware attacks within the
that
last
we know
7
about
days.
on one that's
That
we
what's
know
hit
the
the
dark web that we are monitoring.
Wow.
Yeah, exactly. Those are just the ones for sale, not the ones that are done by advanced persistent threats who are just trying to get access to the data, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
And there's a lot of companies in this list that I don't recognize, but I do see some that I do, like Nissan Australia. Whoa.
Yeah. Yep. The Bell Group,
some universities,
also a big group. There's a lot of really big companies in here.
Jeez,
Is Duende Software in the list?
no.
Okay, good.
No, wait a minute.
Would you like to add
it? This just in.
No, I hear that guy does
Yeah.
backups,
I
right?
wouldn't worry
Yeah,
about
don't
him.
bother with him, man.
Okay, so next one. You were talking about, I was asking you about the Android attack and would it ever, or the malware, would it ever happen on an iPhone? And you mentioned this iPhone triangulation attack that abused undocumented hardware features, or an undocumented hardware feature. What is this?
Yeah. So we've all heard of the Pegasus Group, right? Remember we were talking before about, the
They're why I run lockdown mode.
backdoor.
Yeah, somebody, in long and short of
Exactly.
it is, somebody can send you a text. You don't even have to click on it, and you're
owned.
You're owned.
Unless you're
owned.
running in lockdown
Yeah.
mode.
Yeah.
Yeah, because your phone will try and interpret the message,
Yeah.
and when it does that,
It triggers.
in deserialization of the message, it actually instantiates an object at the kernel level, and at that point, they can own your phone, and that's been patched.
Oh, I thought it was still.
But we talked about, and Brock brought this up. Like Brock was like, "Hey, listen, the security at Apple, like they do a great job at vetting apps, and they do a great job at having multiple layers in their operating system, et cetera, right? And some of that is a little bit of obscurity, right? Nobody really knows all the little pieces and parts inside the Apple operating system. And this is one of the reasons why Patrick always says security by obscurity
No bueno.
should
But
be
not
a
the
layer, but shouldn't be the only layer. So what happened here is there are 4 0 days that were discovered, and some of them look like they were features.
Okay.
Where it was, you can turn on this particular debugging, and only people at Apple would ever know that this was there. And then you get full control over the phone. Actually, what's also interesting here is they're using ROP and JOP chains.
What'd you call me? What? ROP and JOP? The slang never
ROP and
ends
JOP.
with you, does it?
ROP and JOP. No. Return-oriented programming and jump-oriented programming. So this is where you infect a stack and you blow out the end of a buffer. And what you can do is then make calls to legitimate
Sounds like me at the diner on
DLLs
Sunday morning.
until you find it.
You know when the
returning back.
aliens communicate to you by changing the radio station to say what they want to say? That's what this is.
Well,
That's
getting,
jump.
getting back to the
Yes.
diner,
I like that.
I attacked the stack and then I blew out a buffer. That's what happened. I'm just saying. I had to
you
jump up
too.
and go
Yeah,
blow
that
out the
happens.
buffer.
Was it a Mexican restaurant?
Yeah, I was having huevos rancheros.
And that's how the toilet got infected?
All right, one more time, Dwayne. I'm sorry. One more time. ROP and JOP.
Okay. So ROP is return-oriented programming. Let's say
Yeah.
I can infect the stack with code. And I can put an address, I can put code
But you
on the
can't
stack
upload
that I
anything.
want to run. Well, the problem is execution of the stack doesn't work because I've
Right,
jumped
okay.
out of that code. But if I can force the program to jump out into a legitimate DLL and then return back to where it left, what's called a pop ret. So it pops 2 items off the stack and then returns back where it was. Then it'll execute my code. So that's return-oriented programming.
And that's just a standard programming technique. I mean, if you were doing assembler programming or C programming.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. But
If you're manipulating the stack directly, that's how you make calls.
But you're living off the land. You're not uploading any file or data.
Right. You're just saying, hey,
Right.
change the code pointer to here and then call this interrupt and
Yeah.
Just buffer overflow attacks
Yeah.
from good old
basically.
days, right?
yeah,
Except
exactly.
you don't have to reference anything you've uploaded. You just use what's on living off the land.
Sure.
wow.
Well,
Right.
it's been issues like that have been in Windows and IIS, buffer overflows forever.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. It still amazes me when we find, executable stack areas, but I don't know.
So tell me about
Still
this. What can we do about this? Is it patched? What's the deal?
Yeah, this is patched. So this comes back to a classic. Hey, listen, if you're running Apple iPhone devices, make sure you're patched. We've talked about this before. You should always auto patch. Carl and I have noticed that our phones don't auto patch.
Sometimes we have to go look for the notifications.
Yep. But I have noticed that Microsoft Defender for iOS is really good at notifying me when that doesn't happen. So that's a good app to have.
I mean, let's talk about small businesses again real quick. You don't want phones on your networks, even your guest networks, if they're not patched.
Right.
So you may very well want to make sure that people are following that kind of hygiene.
Yeah. True.
You know what I think is a good way to find out, though? Is if someone's joins your network and has an unpatched phone. Just throw out exploits constantly on your own network.
That's legal, right?
It is.
Yeah, okay.
If you gain control over systems, tell them to patch.
Hey, you're in my house. I have the right to hack your phone.
We could just rename the guest network to We Will Hack You.
That's like it's like an agreement they sign when they
All right,
connect.
shall we move on to GitHub?
Yes.
GitHub warns users to enable two-factor authentication before the upcoming deadline.
That's good.
That is good. I've been using 2FA with GitHub from the very beginning, and I urge you to do the same.
January 19th. That's the deadline. If you do not have it enabled, you will be in a bad place with GitHub. But yeah, it should have been done sooner, honestly.
Not much more to say about that story, really. I mean,
this is more of a, this PSA to developers out there. I mean, I figured we had Brock on the line here. We have to do a PSA to developers and let them know, hey, the right thing to do.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I don't know how long ago I enabled 2FA on GitHub, but I'm actually curious thinking about this. What happens if you haven't done this and you missed the deadline?
Yeah, right.
Is there some weird, a certain set of users who will get attacked because there's some, what's the procedure for getting your account upgraded or in? And then is there something an attacker can take advantage of? The legitimate user hasn't done those steps.
It says here, if you haven't set up 2FA by the deadline, you'll find your access to GitHub limited. But don't worry, GitHub has instructions to help you configure it easily.
So it sounds like there might be a recovery.
Probably, but through your
option.
Email.
Yeah,
that's the main thing.
Yeah.
So the real thing to do is go attack the person's email.
That's right.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
Right, exactly.
Dwayne.
Yeah.
You fit right in, Brock. You fit right in.
Hey, Brock, you ever want to be on the team here breaking into companies, you let me know.
All right, let's get to the big news here, which is just, it's just unbelievable. Just to read the headline.
Well, what's the worst job interview you ever had?
Oh, geez. It wasn't this bad. So here's a blockchain developer goes to a quote unquote job interview, has one over the internet. And it's his developer, and his wallet was emptied using an NPM package.
So let me ask a question of Dwayne. Dwayne, I know that in some of our engagements, you or others in the team have applied for jobs at target companies. Have you ever tried to give them like a sample of your code to run?
Oh, 100%.
Hey, here's an example of it.
Yeah.
Check out my code.
This goes both ways, though. We need to let people know this can be job interview is an area of trust where social engineering is on the table.
Yeah, and this one's actually really good.
It is. Yeah, in a bad way. So what happened was a blockchain developer in Turkey had his wallet emptied when in a job interview, and that's in air quotes.
Yeah, it's a scam.
Gave him an NPM package and said, there's some flaws in this, and we need you to find it to see if you're any good at finding flaws in code. And it found his wallet and drained it of $500. Now, he's lucky he didn't have $500,000.
Yeah, I know, right?
But the opposite is true too. So like Dwayne might come and be a real, I'm a network engineer and I wrote this program that you run it on a workstation and it gives you an inventory. Mm-hmm. Well, he could write that pretty easily with PowerShell or Python, but it could also do a lot of other things under the covers.
Yeah. Alarm bells to run in a VM.
Right. Exactly.
I mean, that's my mental approach for something like this.
Yeah.
Or how about don't run it?
Yeah, I agree 100%. But I think a lot of people think, well, shoot, I'm just going to download the code.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I'll look at it.
Yeah.
But I'm not going to run it.
Just going to look at it.
I'm just going to look at it. But here's the problem.
Initialization.
In Visual Studio, you can actually infect the solution and project file to add a build command that then runs a system command. So when you compile the code, it will run an operating system command.
Tricky. So for those who don't know what NPM is, it's a package manager for JavaScript.
Yep.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So basically, it's a way that you can package up third-party tools or JavaScript libraries or whatever that can be shared and used easily. And I guess that's about as developy as we're going to get today. Guys, it's been fun.
But like I said, this one was done really well. The job was actually legitimately posted on Upwork.com. The user was contacted over LinkedIn. So, I
think you're using the word legitimately very loosely.
You know what I mean?
I mean, you got to see the LinkedIn message exchange between the scammer and the developer. It's just really amazing. I mean, you could kind of tell that I can smell it a mile away. It just smells like a scam, you know? Just click on this link.
Because he starts off with for hiring you quickly.
Anything with urgency.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Good call, Brock.
All right, guys, that's a show.
Thanks, everybody. Good talking to you, Brock.
All right. Thank you, guys.
Yeah.
Yeah. And Dwayne, it was good having you on the show, even if you were the only remote person.
Not cool. Not cool.
All right. We'll see you next week. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye, guys.
Bye-bye.